common thing that is supposed to be the writing task 1, and usually we have a couple of areas that needs to be discussed before we actually start writing task 1. Writing task 1 is all about graphs, it is all about diagrams, it is all about maps. You get a variety of it. It is rather a report writing. Writing task 1 is a report writing. You should be very much sure about what you write and the language that you use, particularly for writing task 1, because this happens to be sometimes feels awkward when we try to write things. But as there's a big transition from writing task 2 to writing task 1, writing task 1 is comparatively easier than writing task 2, because writing task 2 you have to assume things, but here no assumption is required. And that is one of the negative aspects also, because if you tend to write something that is assumed out of the way, out of the box, from your imagination, so then it becomes a big no. So you have to make sure that whatever you write, whatever you are putting that in paper should be very much dealt with in the reports. That is the diagrams or the maps or any report, bar chart, pie chart. You will see variety of it. So let us understand basically what is writing task 1 as we start. Okay, let us move on with the sharing of the screen, and then we'll make you understand. So writing task 1 is first the introduction. Here you have to keep it very simple, very short. Just simply paraphrase the question. And paraphrasing we will find in the next coming sessions how to paraphrase it. But it is to be understood that paraphrasing is the key to writing the introduction in writing task 1, especially for people who are people like you who are opting for academics. Okay, so now what is basically the overview paragraph? Describe 2 main general points. That's it. Don't give any figure in this paragraph. Save it for the later paragraphs. So the overview paragraph or the introductory paragraph, you need to just paraphrase the question. The figures, facts has to be described in the later paragraph. That's the paragraph 2 and paragraph 3. And paragraph 2 and 3 describe the chart from general to a specific order. I will tell you how to describe it in the general and specific order as we discuss it. Okay, let us now understand what is the marking criteria before we actually understand it. Okay, let us understand this. Let us look at this. So here we see that as you get to know, the examiner who is assessing your paper is giving you band score and marking criteria based on those 4 criterias, which is very essential. I'll just mark it for you. The first criteria is task achievement. And what is task achievement? Let us understand that. Task achievement says you are describing about the question in the way the examiner expects it to. Like you have a question and the question is being assessed on the basis of the task. You have a task and you cannot go about the topic, you cannot go around the topic, but you have to be very specific whatever you describe. Whatever the question demands, you have to make sure that you describe it very well, and that should be your target area. Do not go out of the topic, because if you go out of the topic, it means that you have not understood the question or you are missing an essential point. Okay, so if you misplace it and go off the topic, it means you are missing a major chunk of your marks, a major portion of your marks. So you will never come near to 7 or 8. You will land somewhere to 5 or maybe by God's grace 6, otherwise not coming near to that score. Okay, now we come to the next part, is coherence and cohesion. Coherence and cohesion. Now let us understand this. Now, coherence and cohesion means the flow of the sentences. How it is how it is well bound with the use of words. How does the previous sentence relates to the next sentence, and the next sentence relates to the next succeeding sentence. So you have to make sure there's a flow maintained. It is like it is not a report, but it should show a picture of the real scenario. So whether it be writing task 1 or writing task 2, both of them have a clear view of that. Like, you have to score, you have to maintain a flow. Okay, now the next part is lexical resource. The choice of words is a very important point. How you describe it is very important. Like, for example, sometimes we go off the we are not very much into describing things, and we lose the formality aspect, and then go into informal ways of describing things. A big no. It is a big no. So you have to make sure that whenever you are describing things, the description should be very much formal, very much technical, very much into how you describe things. So the lexical resources, how you describe it, is a big aspect. Okay. So let us understand this. I'll just underline it for you. The lexical resources. Now, next comes the grammatical range. The grammatical range and accuracy is another point that you have to be very sure of. Grammatical range. The order how you explain things is very vital, because if the head and tail is lost and a specific focus is said to be there when you are describing things, and this is must. Grammatical range is where the IDP Council focuses on. So you see, there is a task management, coherence and cohesion, lexical resources, and grammatical range. These are the 4 criteria on which your final score will be assessed. You have to make sure that you are very much focused on to describing these things. Let us move on to the next part, which is very vital, because it tells you about how you are describing. Task achievement, how well you answer the question. As I said before, how well you are focusing on key points and supporting each point with evidence. And task achievement means 150 word is a word count, and even though the council says that you can write about more at least 180 words, but still, if you are going beyond than that, it means that you are out of the range. You have written something that is beyond the range and included something that is unnecessary. So make sure, first of all, answer all the parts of the task, A, B, C, if it is described in different points. Second, focus on key points and support every point with evidence. So you have an evidence part that is there in the diagram, the map, or the any pictorial representations. Okay, or so you may meet the required number of words, that is 150. Very vital. These are the very essential points that most of the students miss to write. I will tell you to focus on this. Okay. Now next is how well organized your writing is, how well it flows from beginning to end. Coherence and cohesion, we were describing it. Coherence, the flow should be maintained. Paragraphing and correcting usage of words like however, in addition. We have learned these words in our fluency session. If you have missed it, please go through those videos once again so that you can just refresh those things. So first, the flow of the things, flow of the sentences, and second is paragraphing. And what is paragraph? Paragraph says that you talk about you have a single aspect explaining. You have a common theme when you say about a paragraph. You might have a bigger story to say, but in paragraphs you have a theme, and that theme separation is paragraph. So paragraphing and usage of words that are relevant to it, to show that there is a flow involved, or there is a break involved, and you are coming to a next topic that is contrasting in feature. Okay. Now, lexical resources. As I said, lexical resources, how varied and accurate and appropriate your vocabulary is. Varied in the sense you are using a variety of words. Accurate according to the aspect that you are explaining, and appropriate because formal and informal. So that part I hope you have understood. Now don't repeat the words. Don't repeat the words, and that is very vital. Okay. And bring academic vocabularies in your writing by using adjectives and adverbs. I will tell you how to include all these things in this writing task 1, but be very sure that these areas are to be looked forward when you are writing a better essay. Okay, so we move on to the next part. Your spelling must be correct. And the next part about lexical resources is, most of us we tend to learn a lot of words, but we miss on the spelling part. Minimize errors with spellings and word formation. Demonstrating the ability to paraphrase and use a high level of vocabulary correctly as per the demand. Okay. Now, grammatical range and accuracy. How varied and accurate your grammar is. Use a varied range of grammatical usages. If you have basic grammar errors, you will never get a good score. And that is one of the biggest barriers in most of the writings. So make sure that you are very sure about do, does, works. These are basic grammar. His, he, they, their, him, her, or he, him, she, her. So whatever usages you are using, grammatical basic errors that you are using, you are committing a mistake, definitely it's a big no. And you will lose your precious mark for not scoring a high range marks. So I hope you have understood this part. Okay. And now what you need to do? Okay. Spend plenty of time practicing this sentence structure, basically for writing task 1, and it is easy compared to the other task, writing task 2. So we make sure that you spend not more than the required time working with the time constraint, and that part should be well looked after, because that is where you have to follow some precious things. Now I will come to the advice part later. Let us focus on some useful terms that you can use for writing task 1. So these useful terms are like table. So table you can use when you see a table, you can say chart, and instead of chart you can say line graph, bar chart, or a pie chart. Okay, instead of chart you can say line chart. It depends on the chart. Okay, so it may be in the question that you see a chart. Okay, so bar chart, pie chart. Okay, depends on the chart, and accordingly name it, whether it is a line chart, it is a bar chart, or a pie chart. I told you there may be different types of chart. Okay, so the next is show. If this if the question says show, you can use alternative words which says give, reveal, describe, illustrate, okay, and compare. Compare if the graph is comparing. So you can say comparing. There are two charts comparing, so you can use comparing. Okay. Now the next is diagram. You can say figure. Okay. Map shows. You can say use diagram, illustrate. These are very important points, because once you use at one instance in one paragraph, you cannot use it. So you have to use another alternative word. So you have to be very sure about what set of words that are using for. Now, total number of, you can use overall number. For proportion, you can use percentage. I know most of us, we might be knowing this, but you can efficiently use these words. Information, you can use say data. Proportion of, you can use number of, the figure for. So all these words count. So instead of table, you have a set of words. Chart, you have a set of words. Show, you have a set of words. Diagram, you have a set of words. Maps show, you have a set of words. Total number, you have a set of words. Proportion, you have a set of words. Information, you have a set of words. And for proportion, you have a set of words. Mind it that you use it very well. Okay. And next set of words, that is year, from, to. So you can use between 1999 and 2015. So you can use these words, or you can use over a period of like 1999 and 2015, over a period of 6 years. You can use this word very efficiently. Now we say shows. You can use illustrate or compare. This word is used compared because accordingly use it, because if there is a comparison, say compare or comparing. Give information, show data about, compare in terms of. Okay, these are the charts that are comparing consumption of water in India in terms of like gallons or liters. Okay, charts compare countries in terms of. Finish the sentence. So the chart compares the countries in terms of population. The rising population, you can use this word. Okay, proportion or the figure for, percentage of, in 3 countries, in UK, France and Spain, in 3 different countries, in 3 countries namely. You can use these variety of aspects instead of just saying in France. In 3 different countries like UK, France and Spain. You can directly introduce in UK, France and Spain, or you can see in 3 countries namely UK, France and Spain. So instead of, you cannot rename UK, France and Spain, but you can reintroduce those words that are being used instead of that is forming the tail or the head part of the sentence. Okay, even from 1999 to 2009. So you can say between 1999 and 2009. Over a period of 10 years, we learned that. Okay, so make sure you are registering all these words efficiently when you are using it. There's another set of words that we are going to use it. Just note it down. In 1999, you can use in the year 1999. In 1980, over 2 separate years. So you see 1990 and 2000, over 2 separate years. Figures are given for 1980 and 2000 in 2 different years. So you see here, there is a varied usage of words. You cannot rename 1980 and 2000, but you can say over 2 separate years, that is 1990, 1980 and 2000. IDP Council, IELTS board always focuses on avoiding redundancy of word, repetition of word. If you are repeating certain words, it's a big no-no. That is why we are giving you a set of words that can empower you when you do the writing task 1. In writing task 2, you have a set of synonyms that we have learned in the vocabulary part. If you have not learned it, just go through the video. Okay. But here, you have to make sure that you are focusing on that. Now, children, youngsters, young people, elderly people, senior citizens, average weekly spending figures, spent per week, expenditure per week. So expenditure, spending. So you have alternative word, average weekly spending. I am repeating it. Weekly spending figures, spent per week, expenditure per week. Now, the next is English people, Turkish people, Spanish people. You cannot rename Spanish, but you can add the Spanish and say Spanish people. Don't say the Spanish people, but instead say Spanish people or the Spanish. It means that we are talking about Spanish people. Okay. The Indian or Indian people. Level of unemployment. Yes. Unemployment rate. Level of joblessness. The proportion of people without job. The proportion of people who were unemployed. The proportion of people who were jobless. So you see, we are unemployed. There are like joblessness, without job, who were unemployed, who are jobless. Okay, so this should be your focus. Now, poverty level, poverty rate, level of poverty, percentage of people who live under the poverty range. Okay, poverty line. Now I use range, poverty level. Sales turnover per person per capita. Annual, yearly, per year, per week, weekly, each week, a week. Use these words very efficiently. When you are utilizing these words, for example, at times when you are stuck with things where you are going to explain, make sure that you use these words and have a range of words. Make sure that you by heart it if it's possible, because writing task 1 is there is nothing that is off the topic. Everywhere you will get tables, charts, pie chart, map, diagrams. So you can efficiently use these words, set of words. So make sure that you are at least, if you are not by hearting it, read it once in a while. Okay. So be spent on, be allocated for, be used for, be expended, be pay out for. Okay, so you can use these words. Now there is another list: the number of people who use cars, the number of people arriving to work, the number of car commuters, the number of people who commute by car, the number of people who travel by car, the number of car users. So the same sentence being used in different ways. Use cars, driving to work. So instead of using car, we have used driving to work, and car commuters. Okay, commute by car, travel by car, car users. So you see a variety of it. Okay. The number of people who cycle to work, the number of cycling commuters. So you see, cycle to work, cycling commuters. We cannot say drive through cycle. We cannot say that. Cycle to work, we can say cycling commuters, we can say. Okay, the number of cycle users, we can say. The number of people who travel by cycle, we can say. So you can, these are the uses that you can efficiently use. Consumption, used, be consumed, be drunk, or be eaten. Production. So you see production, manufacture, be produced, be made, be manufactured. Annual expenditures being said as yearly spending. Cell phone services being said as mobile phones. Residential services, residential phones, residential phone services. There's something that I missed. Residential phone services, you can use landline phones. So you can use that very efficiently here. Okay. Now, there's another point that you have to be very sure of is when you talk about numbers, the number of people who are car commuters, the number of 20%, the number of water, the number of coffee, the number of money. Okay, you have to, when don't use the number for uncountable nouns. Don't never use it. You cannot use it. Okay, for countable nouns you use it, but you don't use for number of 20%, number of 50%, or number of water, coffee, or money. It's uncountable noun or percentages. So, but in case you can use it for number of students, teachers, people, things that are countable in nature. Now, amount you can use with uncountable noun. Amount of water, amount of coffee, amount of money, amount of information. Okay. All these things you can very efficiently, this you can use with amount of. Don't use the amount with countable nouns. You cannot say amount of person, amount of people. That comes along with what? That comes along with the uncountable nouns. Okay, so I hope you have got it. Now, use the proportion of with plural nouns. Proportion, one, there are two categories to it. One is proportion should be used with plural nouns like proportion of students, proportion of Americans going to higher education. Now you can use it with percentages. Okay, proportion to describe percentages, but not for numbers. No, do not use that for numbers. Use only for percentages. Mind it. Always make sure these things, you have to register these things in the mind so that you can efficiently use that in writing task 1. Do not miss any of these points. Okay. Now you see another point being explained. Use the figure for plural noun. Okay. The figure for visitors in Japan. So you see there is a plural noun being used. Visitors. Visitors is the plural noun. Visitors, not visitor. Figure for visitor. No. This figure for visitors. Now you have another thing. Use the figure with uncountable nouns. Like use the figure for sugar, the figure for electricity, the figure for unemployment. So you see that is figure is being used with uncountable nouns. Again, this figure is used with countries. Mind it. You have to make sure that this is very, 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 very keenly looked upon. 1, 2, 3, 4. These contents. Okay. This content should be focused on. Okay. Use the figure with countries. Figure for UK. The figure for US. The figure for Canada. Okay. Now the figure for percentages. You have to use that with percentages. The figure for unemployment rose to 20%. So you see here the figure is being used very efficiently. Mind it that you have to utilize this word. Make a list. You write down that in a separate page. I usually make a cheat sheet. Cheat sheet means fold maybe a legal size paper and prepare a cheat sheet and make sure that you are reading it every day so that you are reminded of these things. Don't forget about it. Okay. Now how to start the introductory expressions. These are another vital things. Okay. Introductory expressions, you can start with the graph shows, the table shows, the pie chart shows. If you don't want to repeat pie chart, you can say chart shows. And then in the later part of the writing task 1, you can say the pie chart or the line chart according to the specification of the pictorial representation that you have got. Okay, the graph shows or indicates, the graph illustrates, the graph highlights. Okay, so you can use varied things according to the paragraph. So, but the introductory paragraph, you have to start this way. It is clear from the graph that whatever be the paraphrasing statement, you can add to it as is shown by the graph. It can be seen from the graph. As you can be clearly seen from the graph. From the graph, it is clear that as is illustrated by the graph. So here you see a lot of versions of the introductory expressions. Make sure that you by heart it again. Yeah, vocabulary in the introductory part. This is a chart that gives you a different variety. Okay, so you can start with the given chart. Okay, the given, like say for example, the given diagram shows the number of people living in a village in Amsterdam. Okay, so you see Amsterdam being the place. So you describe that way, or the presented. I'll just recolor it so that you are able to differentiate it. The presented chart illustrates the comparison of population in 1990 to the population of 2023. So here you see, starting with the given, the presented, the shown, the supplied, the provided, according to the presentation chart, the diagram, the chart, flow chart, table, graph, pie chart, bar chart, line graph, table data. Okay, it depends on it, and whatever verb you would like to use. Okay, whatever verb you would like to use. Okay, shows, illustrate, presents, gives, describes, represents, depicts, provides, gives data on, gives information on, shows data about, presents information about. Okay, and we have a set of description words, proportion of, amount of, information on, data on. I'll give you one more so that you don't confuse yourself. I'll just like the provided. I forgot to just recolor it. Okay, so that you have the provided table data. Say for example, the data is table data. Okay, presents information about, information. So we have used information, so we cannot use this, the amount of. Okay, the provided table data presents information about the amount of sulfur being expelled from different factories and making and amounting to pollution. So you see, the vocabulary is being very much calculated, and it does not go off the topic. So you have to learn this chart very well, mind it, how to use the chart. Okay, now we see vocabularies, the extensions of it. Now there might be, in the graph you might see like a graph having this, and the next graph like this, and then the next graph this. So when you see a graph like this, from this to this, recolor it, from this to this, that's a decrease. So decrease, that decrease trend can be said as a decline, a fall, a decrease, a plummet, a plunge, a drop, not just a drop, but a drop, but drop, reduce, or if you want to use it in a noun form, a decline, a fall, a decrease, a downward trend, a downward tendency, a drop. So if you are using that in a verb form, use these set of words. If you are using that in noun form, use this set of words, the later part. So make sure whatever your target is or whatever sentence you are framing, frame accordingly. Okay, now in the same way, let us focus on this. Okay, the same graph, and then let us describe, and then we'll understand more. You see an increase. So the verb form can say go up, increase, rise, rocket, climb, uplift. You can use the word rocketing. It depends on the tense you are using, whether it is a continuous form, it is in the present form, or in the past continuous form, depends on it. Okay, or if it is finished, climb. Okay, so you say that in present tense, present term. So you can see, use the words that are non-affected by it. Okay, soar, upsurge. But when you come to the noun form, an upward trend, a rise, a growth, an increase. Now, I'll show you one more example where you understand it with more, like, say for example, there is 2 graphs and I will try to make it the same, okay, because it's not a calculated one, okay. So you see in the year, this is 1 year, just one, this is the second year, this is the third year. So what do you see? You see a steadiness, okay. This is all equal, so you see unchanged, remain constant, level out, remain steady, remain the same, plateau, okay. People who have learned geography well in their schooling days, they will remember plateau, okay, remain stable, okay. Now in the noun form, we say a stability, a steadiness, plateau, a static, okay. So you remember these words and the set of words, okay. Now a gradual decrease, okay. Let us understand the gradual decrease also. I will draw it for you. Again, I am using a bar chart because it is easy for me to just show that in the here in this, you see a gradual decrease. This is called a gradual decrease, right? This is gradually decreasing. So we don't have a verb form here, but we have a downward tendency or a downward trend. We can use this word. So make sure that you are utilizing this very often. Take note. Make sure that you are utilizing this in your writing task 1. Don't miss any of these points. And now, again, vice versa, we see a gradual increase. Gradual increase, I'll draw again for you so that you don't forget it, because there are chances you may forget it, okay, as we see a gradual increase. This is a gradual increase. So what is the trend like? It is a this is gradually increasing, okay. If it is the vice versa, gradually decreasing. So the noun form is an upward tendency, an upward trend. I hope you have got lot of things here to just remember, okay. And let us these are the terms that you use basically for to show changes. So let us just have a revision of all the things that we studied. Vocabulary to show the changes, and that will give you a list of words that shows the changes accordingly. We are going with a list of things that tells you about the vocabulary to the introduction part of the IELTS writing task 1, okay. So the introductory expressions, okay, and the basic, some useful terms for rewriting the statements in the writing task 1, okay. And the last but not the least and very important is the band score and the marking criteria, where you see the task achievement, the coherence and the cohesion, lexical resources, grammatical range or accuracy. So you see a variety of things. Make sure that you don't forget to just go through all these points. I know that was a big topic, but there is more to study in writing task 1. There is more to study in the expressions in the writing task 1. Let us understand this. Make sure that you just take note, rewrite it in a cheat sheet, and then we will come with more sessions like this for writing task 1, maybe tomorrow. See you. Okay. God bless.